Yes guys, welcome back to another video. Welcome to the George Benson football channel. I got deja vu. I remember doing a video, it's about 46 minutes long, with Eunice when Graham Potter was sacked. It was a Chelsea new manager tier list. I think this is the easiest way, instead of me doing like a video per manager, like will it work, won't it work, like it will just get repetitive. I'm going to release this right now. I've gone through and I've selected, I think, nearly 15 managers, almost 15 managers, all of which there is a possibility could take over at Chelsea. We have got 5 tiers, and I've had to adjust the tiers from what we did 2 years ago. Ideal new manager, great, but would it work? There's a serious question mark there. No better than Pochettino, trouble waiting to happen, and no thank you, because this is my opinion. I would love to hear yours in the comments down below. Top line, who do you want? Who don't you want to be the next Chelsea manager? And I think the whole "but would it work" question is pretty much relative for any human being, be it Jurgen Klopp, Pep Guardiola. It doesn't matter who you are as a manager. Coming in to manage Chelsea right now, there are more questions than there are answers. Although there are answers, but like they still evoke so many questions. So without any further ado, I'm not going to waste time here because I want to go through all of these managers, because to be quite honest, I'll tell you top end now before we go through the names, I wanted Pochettino to stay. I thought based on the idea of stability, the players really liked him, they started to play for him, we were getting good results, we had layered foundations being built. I just thought this was the worst idea to sack Mauricio Pochettino. And when we look through some of these managers, it just becomes even more alarming to me based on what we're hearing Chelsea want. They want a manager that will play 4-2-3-1 or 4-3-3. I think there's not much wrong with that. I think that kind of fits. They also want a young manager with progressive ideas. We want a possession-based manager that can keep the ball. Pochettino quite often wanted to play through the lines, vertical passing, but we weren't ready for it. We didn't have the personnel. And overall, you can argue even that Pochettino wasn't the right profile for the squad in the first place. He did get somewhere with it. He finished 6th in the league. We can still get Europa if Man City beat United, if they're not too hungover. But the first manager that we talk about here is another one that we spoke about years ago, Hansi Flick. The man is currently out of a job, and I'm sticking him in the great but would it work category. The reason I say would it work is because the Chelsea owners want a young manager. There's going to be a lot of repetition in this video today. And Hansi Flick, I think, would be one of those managers who it would be a massive risk because he's obviously a treble-winning manager. He's got pedigree. He's got a lot more experience. So I like the idea, even though I hate the ideas of what the owner is saying. Personally, I think it's just the maths make sense to bring in a more experienced coach to work with an inexperienced group of players. Maybe it's like a Hansi Flick comes in, takes Chelsea from 6th to Champions League, maybe we win a trophy, and then it doesn't work for the start of the second season. Then you get more of like a younger base manager when the squad are actually at a tangible place where Chelsea can be consistently competing for where we feel like we belong, where we feel like we deserve to be. I think Flick would be a good option. I'm not sticking him in ideal, but he is going to go in the great but would it work category. Jose Mourinho. You guys know, I absolutely love this man, but it's trouble waiting to happen. When you have got personality, when you have a way of managing, and when you've won the trophies that Mourinho has, and you look at what these new owners are basically asking for, the basket case phrase has been going around. The whole Chelsea need a puppet. Like, this is what the footballing world believes Chelsea need. And I think it's true. I think these new owners are so sure that they have got the right idea in their heads that bringing in someone like Jose Mourinho could actually be a catastrophe. As much as I think, again, he's someone that the fans could warm to, there would be a massive buzz, even if you didn't want Mourinho, to see him in the dugout again would be exciting. But I do think with the way that this club is being ran at the moment, it would be a disaster. No word of a lie. Thomas Tuchel is going straight in to the ideal new manager. This is all my opinion, of course. I was understanding as to why Tuchel was sacked. And I think when we look now at what they wanted Tuchel to be like, a bit more involved in things and the way that they wanted it to go, Tuchel wasn't interested in that. Now Pochettino wants to be more involved, and they're like, nah, mate, sorry, like we know what we're doing here. You can't be more involved. You can't have control. You can't have a say. I think that this could easily be also trouble waiting to happen because, look, Tuchel didn't get on at Bayern Munich. Clearly didn't get on within a few months of being the Chelsea manager when these new owners came in. But Thomas Tuchel does have unfinished business at Chelsea. And I think if he doesn't go to Chelsea, he'll go to Manchester United. And he'll do a really good job at Manchester United. And I'm looking at next season already. And I'm thinking the top four is going to have Liverpool, Arsenal and Manchester City in it. There is going to be one place left available. And this could be Chelsea's. I think if Tuchel goes to Manchester United, it will be Manchester United's. And then what? We're sat here in a year's time again saying, well, you did all right, mate, but you didn't quite cut it. And especially if we go down the list here and we progress through this video, the inexperience becomes alarming. Thomas Frank is a name that is being touted a lot. He's 50 years old, currently the manager of Brentford. But look, people say that Thomas Frank is one of those new age modern managers. He's progressive. I think if Thomas Frank comes in, there's a very good chance that Ivan Toney would come with him, a good striker that would obviously bring goals. But for me, I just look at some of these names here, and as we keep going through, Thomas Frank, yes, he's young. Pochettino was young. Graham Potter was young. And Graham Potter got absolutely eaten alive at Chelsea because as a personality and as a manager and character, to be the Chelsea manager, it doesn't matter if it's Abramovich or Clearlake, to be the Chelsea manager, you've got to have enough about you so that you can offer something to the players that they look up to and aspire to listen and be coached and be teached. And Thomas Frank, as much as his practices as a football manager are good, these players play for Chelsea. They're young, they're confident, big egos. Are they going to be looking at Thomas Frank and being like, I really want to learn from you. I believe in you because I've seen what you've done. It's Brentford. Yeah, he's kept them in the Premier League. That's great. But is that the standard now at Chelsea? I don't back this one bit. No, thank you. Roberto De Zerbi. Now, this one is the one I'm probably going to spend the most time on because De Zerbi is probably, in my opinion, the most likely manager to take over at Chelsea this summer. He's leaving Brighton. We found that out last week. And there's rumours that he could go to Bayern Munich. But look, Pochettino and Harry Kane back at Bayern Munich. That's probably going to happen if he doesn't go to Man United. That's where Poch is going to go. With De Zerbi, I've put him in tier number 3. He's not much better than Pochettino. The reason for that is when you look at every De Zerbi team from wherever he's managed, but let's just focus on Brighton because it's the easiest recent example. Brighton play some really good football. They're fluid, they press high, and some of the movement that you can see is clearly been worked on the training ground, and it is structured and you know what you're going to get. The issue is defending. One of Chelsea's biggest issues and critiques that we can give the club this season is that we were so bad at the back. We conceded more goals this season than in any other Premier League season in our history. And Roberto De Zerbi teams sometimes get absolutely slapped up. They concede loads of goals, and they always have. Pochettino also got Chelsea scoring freely come the end of the season. So if we're getting him in to play fluid attacking football and score loads of goals, but Pochettino was doing that. So for me, I think Roberto De Zerbi, a lot of managers have spoken so highly about him. I think Jurgen Klopp wants to see him keep taking over the Premier League, all this stuff. People have got great words to say about De Zerbi. He is a progressive coach. He will play in the kind of system that Chelsea will want. But I just think there's just so many question marks here. And the reason why I'm so frustrated that Pochettino has gone, and I don't think De Zerbi, at the top of my head right now, would get anything better immediately, is because quite clearly there's a discord right now between Todd Boehly saying patience and we've got to wait for things that are great to happen. De Zerbi coming in, the players have got to get used to him. It's going to be a load of change and lack of stability again at the club for somebody to come in, and it's probably going to just be one of those transitional seasons again, which we've basically just had and started to see the positive end of a transition. So with De Zerbi, I fully expect it to be the same thing, by which point it's another year without Champions League football, another year where the finances, as a result, will suffer, and after 3 or 4 years in a row of no Champions League, Chelsea is no longer an attractive destination for a club. So De Zerbi would be a risk, and I'm not convinced by him at all because of the way that Brighton just concede a load of goals. And they're so much more organised on the whole, if you look at them this season, than Chelsea were for the majority of it. So it leaves me with a lot of concerns. Moving into Julian Nagelsmann. I think Nagelsmann has always been a very good manager, but the fact that it's his way or the highway, he likes to do things his way. I think at Chelsea right now, it's absolutely impossible for a manager like that to succeed. It's the same as Tuchel, goes to Bayern Munich, and it just doesn't quite work there with the board and those above him. And I think with Nagelsmann, it could be great. I think we play some really good football. But would it actually work? Like, is there going to be any longevity in any of these managers on this list? Kieran McKenna, the Ipswich manager, I have put him in the trouble waiting to happen category simply because I think he'd just get eaten up by the job. The moment it starts to go wrong, the moment Chelsea fans will be like, it's just Graham Potter reincarnated. Look, he scraped Ipswich out of League One. Yes, he got them promoted. He got them out of the Championship too. But I just don't think when you're talking about possession-based football, Ipswich aren't necessarily keeping the ball 70% of matches every single week. They didn't win the Championship. And it's like, overall, it's a Championship manager. Do you know what I mean? Like, even the Luton manager was a great manager, brings Luton to the Premier League, did a good job this year, but like, he got relegated. And we're going to go in a second and talk about another manager who was relegated. But for Kieran McKenna, I think if he keeps Ipswich in the Premier League next season, then you can start looking at him as like, all right, well, maybe there's a big club waiting for him. But also for Kieran McKenna, you wouldn't want to go near the Chelsea job, surely. Lots of people are linking him right now to go and manage at Brighton due to the vacancy there. That's the organic step up. You go from Ipswich, get them promoted twice, you go to Brighton, probably a Chelsea manager in the next 3 years, mate. Do you know what I mean? Don't want him there at this moment in time. Xavi. Now, this one makes a lot of sense. I've put him in category number 2. There are issues this summer at Barcelona. He was going to be leaving. Then he was going to be staying. Always financial problems at Barca. There's always a problem around the corner. And when it comes to possession-based football, which is what Chelsea want to do, there's not really many better masters in football, be it as a player. Now as a manager, he's embodying it as well. Xavi would get Chelsea keeping the ball, which is what the ownership wants. And I do think it would be an exciting managerial appointment. And I think tactically, this one works. Moving into Vincent Kompany. Vincent Kompany, just like, how on earth, right? I'm just going to throw it out there here. The frustration, I'm just going to breathe for a second. Like, Vincent Kompany just got relegated. He just got relegated with Burnley in the Premier League. And he is being linked with the Bayern Munich job. They're desperate. And he's now being linked potentially with a Chelsea job as well. Vincent Kompany, I think, will become a good manager. I think it was a lot of people were surprised this season that his Burnley team didn't put up more of a fight. They didn't have the quality. Very few championship teams who come up do. And I just find it baffling that we're at a stage now as Chelsea Football Club where we are being linked to managers who get relegated, and we're being linked to managers that have been managing in lower leagues. What has happened to this club, and why is this the standard? The next manager, which I'm also saying no thank you to because he's had one good season in Spain, it is the Girona manager, Michel. I don't know how you actually pronounce it. I'm not going to butcher it any more than I already have. Chelsea bringing in managers based on one season of success. It's inexperience. There's not enough experience there for me to be confident that you put that manager in to an inexperienced pot of players and he could do any better than Mauricio Pochettino. It was either number 3, but De Zerbi at least I think has got that Premier League experience. So if he were to come in, I think it would be not a flip of the coin because that's a stupid thing to say, but like I think it really could work with De Zerbi. I've just got so many reservations about that defensive style. But we've seen him do a great job at Brighton. He took them further than Graham Potter did. So for Michel, coming into the Premier League, I'm not convinced. Ruben Amorim is going up there with Thomas Tuchel. From what we know right now, Chelsea, they were interested in Amorim. I actually made a video talking about how Ruben Amorim would set up at Chelsea after that humiliating result that we saw against Arsenal. Tactically, I think he's right up there right now with some of the best young progressive coaches in Europe. I also think there is a world here where Victor Gyökeres could be a striker that comes in with him from Sporting Lisbon. He did come out and say that he wasn't interested in the Liverpool job and that he wanted to stay at Sporting Lisbon, which isn't really a surprise. I think a lot of these managers right now are looking at some of the turmoil at certain clubs across Europe, Chelsea being one of them, Manchester United. Some managers would look at Jurgen Klopp leaving Liverpool and they'd be like, look, I don't want to go in there with that pressure when I'm doing a really good job right now. Talking here about an Amorim or a Xabi Alonso potentially. And obviously Arne Slot has gone in there as new Liverpool manager. But Amorim, I think, would actually get us playing some good football. I think the tactical diversity that we could see with Amorim, I think a lot of times this season I look at the Chelsea team when we've been struggling and I'd be like, this actually would really work with the three at the back, with the personnel that we have. Who knows who the personnel are actually going to be come the start of next season with these new owners and who they're going to keep, who they're going to sell, who they're going to bring in. I would say one thing though. John Terry posted on Instagram saying that he hopes that no one is brought in until a new manager is appointed. Esteval Willian's obviously going to join, but he won't join Chelsea until January. Whoever Chelsea appoint, it's going to happen quickly. And I just hope that the transfer business, surely there has to be a conversation with that new manager. I can only see it going one way. They're going to be like, right, mate, we're going to bring in this guy, that guy, this guy, that guy. Are you happy with that? Yes. Oh, okay. You're through to the next stage of the recruitment process. Come back for a second interview. What do you think you'd do if you're a goldfish? You know, so I don't know what they're going to ask this bloke, to be fair, because there's no point asking any questions. You're just going to have to be told what you're going to have to do. I'd love to see Amorim as a Chelsea manager. Sebastian Hoeneß, I believe that is the pronunciation, is the Stuttgart manager. Stuttgart finished second in the Bundesliga, ahead of Bayern Munich and only behind the brilliance of Xabi Alonso's Bayer Leverkusen. When you look at the way Stuttgart play, there's a good balance. They don't concede many goals. I think they've got like top 3 or 4 defenses in the Bundesliga. One of the best attacks as well. And I also think here, there is a world where Guirassy, the Stuttgart striker who scored more goals than he played games in the Bundesliga this season, is also a cheap striking option, could come in. And I think in terms of young, he's 42 years old, progressive managers, I think this guy fits what Chelsea might be looking for a little bit more than some of the other young managers out there. I think Xavi would be a massive gamble and maybe actually not that tangibly close. Sebastian Hoeneß, I think, would absolutely be open to the move to Chelsea, and I think this one is a good one. Not quite as high as Amorim, but again, it's a relatively unknown name. There are so many managers right now in Europe who are doing good things, but when you put them in the chaos that is the Chelsea project, that is just Chelsea Football Club as a whole, how do these managers cope with the desperate need for immediate results, but the conflicting idea of we're in a project and it's, do you know what I mean? All of this like patience, it will take time. All of this stuff just completely conflicts with the way that Chelsea have treated Pochettino and others before him. Look, Xabi Alonso I'm going to put into tier number 1, but realistically, this man is never going to be a Chelsea manager, let alone leave Bayer Leverkusen after he's already committed and said no to Liverpool, basically. So Xabi Alonso is the dream, but he's not going to come. And then we finish with Enzo Maresca, because I think Enzo Maresca, Leicester manager, gets them promoted, does a good job. This just sums everything up for me. It is yet another championship manager that Chelsea are being linked with. And this, for me, is the biggest issue. With all of these managers that you can see in this completed tier list on the left-hand side of the screen, to be fair, I think Pochettino is probably more ideal to be the Chelsea manager next season than any of these managers on this list. And the reason for that is the players loved him, there was stability, and we were building something, and it has just all been taken away. Whoever the manager is, whether it is one of these guys or whether it is someone completely out of the blue that would surprise us, this club, they can't surprise us anymore. There's always something coming from somewhere that will absolutely wipe us off our feet. Whoever it's going to be has got to be ready to be a puppet on a string, has to be ready to just accept whatever is thrown his way, and whoever it is, if they can come in, take all of that on board and get Chelsea to be successful again, then they're going to have to be a special manager. There's got to be something serious about one of these managers who comes in to get anywhere with these kind of people above dictating the play at a football club the size of Chelsea. It is going to be beyond a mission for whoever it's going to be. And I've top-ended it today because, look, at the moment, there are names being thrown everywhere, left, right and centre. And until we know more information about what that shortlist is going to look like when it's shorter. These are all the names that I'm seeing. These are my thoughts. Let me know yours in the comments down below. What a mad day this has been. Come on, you Blues.